Hi, this is Monica Gallagher, and you're listening to the Bigfoot Club podcast. Cryptid sports entertainment for life.
Hey everybody, Bigfoot Bob. I'm here with my nephew, Sasquatch Steven. Bigfoot Club, Season 7, Episode 6. Steven, say what's up.
What's up?
What's going on?
Nothing much. What's going on with you?
You're not doing the Bigfoot yell?
No, I want the kids to go to bed.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good.
Yeah, Ricardo will probably get. I heard a scream. I heard a Bigfoot.
So today I'm super excited. We got in on our show today Yowie Dan from Australia. Yowie Dan, welcome to the club.
Thanks very much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure spending some time talking about my favorite subject, the Yowie.
You are a two-time Bigfoot clubber now.
Yep, two-time.
So
I'm even wearing the shirt right now.
are you really? Oh, I wish we had it on video.
Yeah, he was prepared.
That's why I wore it.
Oh, okay. You know, I tell people all the time. I said, man, Yowie Dan is such a good dude. He's always pushing Bigfoot Club. I can't thank you enough, man. You are a good emissary for Bigfoot Club. So,
Thanks.
Since I think we last had you on, you were like in the bush a lot, and then you were doing some stuff with Attila Caldy, right? Are you still doing stuff with him?
Oh, yeah. We plan things all the time, but last year I had an accident, and for my Achilles tendon, I pretty much tore it off the bone, and I had to get stitched back on. So I've been out for like a year. I was on crutches for 6 months, and yeah, so 2024 was pretty much non-existent for me in research.
Right.
But when I started getting back into like hiking, I started a history channel because when I'm out in the Blue Mountains and I'm looking for yowies and all that kind of stuff, I'm coming across all this history. Like, what's this? I'm always been interested in history, so I went looking for a cave that a lady was found dead in, unfortunately, back in the early 1980s, and here I am, 3 months after they said, yeah, you can go for walks. I'm climbing down ridges to go into valleys to try and find his cave. I'm limping and everything like that. So that's where I was at back at the end of last year to try and get my fitness up to do, carry backpacks into areas like the Blue Mountains. It's not flat. It's a mountainous area, like everyone knows what mountains are like. And
Yeah.
You've got to go up and down to get the places. I want to make sure my leg is going to, be able to get me in and then get me back out.
I want to talk about your channel, but I just wanted to tread back a little bit really quick. Did you hurt it? Did you hurt your Achilles like in the field?
No. I was actually, I was at a friend's place and I kind of tripped downstairs.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. When I was over, I heard a big pop and then my foot was at a weird angle. So,
for people who don't know, Yowie and I, we're constantly messaging each other a lot, and you were sending me everything as it was happening. You were sending me like your stitches, your cast, your boot, everything, and I was like, I felt so bad for you, and because I know how active you are. How you love to be active and you love to walk out in the field with your thongs and stuff. So it just killed me whenever I was telling Steven about it. He goes, no. So
That's the first thing I asked too. I go, oh my God, was he out in the field when that happened? And you were like, no, I think he was at a friend's house. I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's better.
I'm glad you were at a friend's house and not in the field, because that would have been rough to get back, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was really rough. And you know what the worst thing about it is? I busted a plugger on my favorite pair of thongs, and I had to chuck them in the bin, unfortunately. That was the worst day than doing my foot. So,
oh, Lord.
I've got a better pair of thongs. I've got Filipino-made thongs now, so I'm giving them a go.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you were better, because I think for some reason I had thought you were still out. I thought you were still like in therapy, and I asked you, I go, hey, how much longer you got? And then you sent me a video of you walking through like the bush already. I go, what the? That was quick. But I'm sure I thought it was quick, but for you it wasn't.
No, I was hurting, but I kind of pushed it a bit, and physio kind of told me off. But I like everyone knows their how far you can push your own body, and some things I shouldn't have went as far as I did, but at the time it wasn't feeling too bad. But when you hurt one part of your body, then you kind of walk differently, all the other parts start hurting. So then my back started hurting, and then me hammy, so I kind of backed off a bit and gave it a bit more time after that. So I did kind of learn a lesson how far I can push my body.
But
the worst thing about it is, normally you can just get up, you walk around to the sink to get a cup of water. It's a mission. It's a mission to get up with crutches, then to get there, just to get the cup, drink of water, then come back down to sit down. It's a mission. Go in a shower, I'm sitting on a chair, things like that.
Yeah.
Anyone who's got any sort of problems knows how much of a mission it is to just do simple things.
Yeah, because I know once I took a shower like by myself, because that was my whole goal, was to use the restroom by myself and to shower by myself. And once I did that, that was so liberating.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, my wife helped me a lot. So,
well, if it's anybody that could have got through this, I knew it was you, because you are such a badass, and
no,
so
not that bad.
No, I disagree with you, because I think you showed me videos of areas that you walk in the Blue Mountains, and that's some rough terrain, and like you
with thongs,
and you push through. So you pushed through. I said, "Oh my God!"
I don't even want to push through that with just my regular shoes on.
Yeah. So
I was amazed. I went to an area. I usually wear boots, and I get all these leeches on me, and I just walked in there in thongs to show people, yeah, you can hike in thongs. I got not one leech on me. Like it was like, I reckon he's everywhere.
So were you bouncing off the walls because you were in crutches and you couldn't do anything? You couldn't go out like in the bush or anything?
Yeah, it was a bit like that. I do. After a while, you kind of get stronger in the crutches, and they don't hurt your armpits as much and stuff like that. And your arms get stronger. So I was kind of just going outside. But what I did, like a big day for me was going to the letterbox to go see if there's letters in there. That's how bad it got. But what I did, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. There's one guy, his name's Rob Parsons down in Tasmania, and he makes really great videos about the history there and does a bit of gold mining and stuff. And I was watching his videos because they go for like an hour, and I was just watching old YouTube videos that I'd seen a long time ago and forgotten about. I rewatched Tracking the Law that I made with Attila.
Right.
They're on Tubi TV. They're for free, just got ads in them. Anyone can watch them, and I watched them again. And so that's what I was doing until I was able to finally get up and walk around. And it does take a while to just stretch that tendon and get it used to walking again. That was the big mission for me.
Right. Oof. So currently right now you have a YouTube channel, Australian Yowie, right? Which I know I'm subscribed to. And you were stating that while you were in this, recovery, that you started the Blue Mountain history with Yowie Dan, right? You started that one also?
Yeah, so the first video I did there, I already had some videos like Aboriginal rock paintings and that I filmed in the Blue Mountains and had on my Australian Yowie channel. I switched them over to this Blue Mountains history with Yowie Dan, but sat there for about 10 weeks researching the Pilgrim Inn, which is the first pub licensed in the Blue Mountains in 1830, and it's still standing in ruins in the McDonald's car park in Blacksland. That's one of the suburbs in the Blue Mountains. And that was the first history I did of the Blue Mountains while not being able to walk around, and spent time on Trove, which is like a newspaper, old newspapers you can look up, and during Ancestry.com to get information about people about that story. So that kind of got me through. That got my mind on something. For 2 months, instead of sitting around doing nothing, I was actually doing something, keeping myself busy.
Right. That's amazing, because I know we were talking.
John Kershaw.
Yeah, we were talking with John Kershaw, and he was telling us about history with his family, and we found. He says, "Hey, is it okay to talk about it?" I go, "Yeah, it's great." So we talked about his family and the massacre and all that stuff, and I thought it was fascinating, because I find Australia super fascinating for some reason. I just do it. I find it more fascinating than because it's like you guys. Just way different. It's just way different, and it's like first time hearing it, and I just love it. So
Built different.
I think every country's has gone through kind of dark times, and with like the indigenous people here, like probably the American Indians and other tribes from Africa, have all gone through during them 1800s, 1700s, and prior to that, getting taken as slaves or shot and stuff like that. So every country's got it, like when we had that, unfortunately, here.
yeah, a bunch of massacres, and you hate to hear that, but it's what I find fascinating also, Dan, is that whenever you have that, the like its land, it has so much energy, because there was like so much turmoil and death, and there's just so much energy there, and so I'm sure, like if we were to visit there, I'm sure we would probably feel it. Probably feel all the energy.
You do.
Yeah,
you do. In some places, you feel it, and you already. When we were doing track, I don't know if I've told you before, but we had some really weird things happen to us. Nothing to do with Yowies. Like, like in one area where have you heard of the scenic railway? It's the steepest railway in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go down there, and then where you end up going all the way around to the ruined castle, they call it, because it's a rock formation, looks like it's ruined. And they were mining for kerosene shale, so the kerosene in the shale. This was during like the 1870s, 18 to about, I think, early 1900s. And there's all mines still in there, but they're all blocked off. But when you go right around there, people had to have got hurt there or died there back in them days, because there was no occupational health and safety. So we were there, and there's like this ghost just goes flying along the trail, like the one that's from Ghostbusters at the start when it's in the library, looking through all the library books and that.
Wow.
And it was like really bright white light, and I was facing that way, and Attila and Duo were facing towards me. We're sitting on chairs trying to get this little bit of wood started to make a fire at about 3 o'clock in the morning, because we'd been filming for track. And I just went, "What the hell is that?" And they could see the white light coming over their shoulders, so they've looked around and they're like, "What the hell?" And you know what happened then was, like, they didn't want to stay because I wasn't there the night before, and they heard some like woman screaming, kind of sounded like a woman screaming, but they said no one was around there. It was really cold. In winter time, you don't get many people.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to go, so we packed up and left. I wanted to stay. I want to see what was going on.
Yeah, you do. Australia doesn't have cougars, right? You don't have cougars?
No. The only dangerous animals we got is like, there's wild dogs, there's dingoes, but we're just more worried about the snakes and the funnel web spider. It's about the two things we're worried about up there.
Yeah, because like I know like bobcats here in Texas, whenever they scream, they sound like a woman completely. So I was just thinking, I go, no, that's not in Australia.
No wolves, no bears, instead of koala bears and drop bears. No coyotes, nothing like that. You get the wild dogs, but they're very rare. They put baits out for them. There is wild pigs there, but you can tell the pigs squeal. And the dingoes have this distinct sound, and very rarely do you come across them.
Yeah. Well, you have, right, let me see here. How many subscribers do you have for your channel right now?
A couple of thousand. I didn't even look at it, to be honest.
Okay.
I wouldn't know. I think it's like, last time I saw was 2,700 or something like that. I can't remember.
Wow, that's greater than ours. So
something like that. I don't know. I'm not really in it for worrying about who's subscribing, who's like.
Right.
I go out there because that's my interest, and I want to show other people this is what I do. And if they want to subscribe, they subscribe. If they don't, that's up to them. So
yeah. Well, I like it. I've subscribed to it, so and I encourage everybody else to do it because it's good to hear from Yowie Dan.
Yeah, there's not many people like that. There is people out there researching, but a lot of people just keep it to themselves. They don't even come on Facebook groups. They don't do podcasts. They don't have a YouTube channel or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not many people that are actually going out there as far as I'm going in, other than Dean Harrison and the AYR boys. I know Gary Lynn goes out with a couple of guys he knows. But as far as the other boys, they're only just walking along, the trail that they drive the car in, and they go a few meters and they see a bent tree and they go, "Oh, this must be made by Yowie." And you can see there where a car's trying to do a U-turn and the bumper bar's knocked into it. And they're like, "Come on, man! Like,
yeah,
are you serious?" So that's the big thing I'm getting. I've been doing this since early 2000s. I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I call them blowflies because blowflies are only around for a certain time, then they die.
Yeah,
they're the people that are not really. They're just interested. They come in to make it more of a nuisance than anything. But you've got to be honest, and you've got to be use common sense. I've been to trees where there's been trees broken down, and I know that trees will die because of dehydration, because of the cold, or because of the heat, or because of some sort of insect or worm. That you got termites or wood ants, or you got some sort of these kind of worms go through there, wood worms and stuff. And then the wind comes, and then it gets broken at that weak part. If that weak part's 8 foot tall, well, that's where it breaks. Mm-hmm. And then people are going, "Oh, no, how could a human break that?" Well, no, a human's not going to break it, and no living being did it. It was just nature. But when you get to areas like when we were filming a track, and it's an area where I've had a stone thrown at my tent, and Yowie's running around the bush with another researcher back in 2014. And we went down there and we seen tree branches that were broken at the same height and at the same level, about 10 meters apart, mm-hmm. all the way along the ridge. So that starts to get you to say that's a uniformed line. That's just not nature breaking one here, and 50 meters down the track it's breaking it here, and 10 meters up the ridge is breaking it there because of wind or some sort of instinct. This is like a line, like a fence line to say this is my property, don't go past here. So they're the things that kind of say, hey, that's a bit funny. And then you try and look at what actually did it, and all the branches are all twisted. And you're like, maybe this is what Yowies are doing. So
yeah, I've actually been in an area in Sulphur Springs, Texas. And we have these trees here called bodart trees, and they're the wood for that is really dense, so it's really, really tough. And the first time I was in the field with my mentor Luke Gross, we heard pow pow, and I thought it was like someone shooting a shotgun, and he was saying no, he's walking the tree line and he's letting us know he's here. And so we heard 5 or 6 breaks. And so the very next morning, we went to the area that we thought we heard it from, and it was a tree line on this barbed wire fence, and you could see 8 feet up, they were all twisted. These trees, it was 8 trees that all just twisted, and I go, oh my god! So I didn't see it do it, but I said, man, that sounded like for me, Dan, that sounded like a alpha male just saying, hey, I'm here. This is my area. Watch out. So
yeah, well, when like you're saying, when you see a tree that's like a hardwood tree, and it's really strong wood,
right,
and it's bent, and you're like, well, wind really, you're gonna say it's got to be really, really strong, like hurricane force wind, to do that. We don't get up in the Blue Mountains. It gets windy, but you wouldn't be saying that it'd be in the hundreds of k's. You get the 50 or 60 kilometers, or maybe up to 90, but that still wouldn't break a hardwood tree. And when you see them broken and twisted,
twisted is what grabs you.
Yeah, you just sit there and go, all right, I know when they fall, there's got to be one part of the tree that's going to be less, is going to be weakened than the other side. So that's why that twist does happen. But usually it's just one twist and it goes down. But when you see it twisted around 5 or 6 times, you're like, no, that's a bit weird. And then when it's a hardwood tree and it's ultra hard wood to break, that's when you start questioning, this is a possibility that something's done this other than nature.
Yeah, that's because whenever we walked over there and looked at it, they were all twisted. And then like we looked at like the ground to see if that was like a, like a gas truck or electrical truck that went through there. And there's no tire prints. There's nothing. There was no storm. I said, man, this is pretty powerful because it was pretty high up, and they were twisted. And so it's for us to twist like a smaller branch, a smaller diameter branch. That's hard. It's hard to do it.
Yeah.
And
it is.
For something bigger, with like a opposable thumb, can just twist that with ease. That's kind of scary, and exciting at the exact same time. So.
Well, you're talking about something that with strength to do it. They say that like gorillas and even chimpanzees are 10 times stronger than us. Well, these, you look at people are saying Yowies, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, 10 foot plus. Are they like 50 times stronger than us? So that's why they can do it. You don't know. So
I was going to ask you, do you get people just walking up to you or just like tell you stories or just want to report stuff to you?
Yeah, I get people here and there. They'll message me saying, I want to come out with you guys the next time you go out and all that kind of stuff. And, I don't mind if someone comes out with me personally and we'll just go for a hike and I'll show them areas. But when we're going out, we like to keep it in a small group because the smaller the better. If you've got more people, you're less likely to have an encounter or something to come check out. So usually when we go, the most will be 3 people. So that's why when we did track, or mostly track, it was duo and myself in front of the camera, and behind the camera was Attila, and that was it. So So, but anyone can go out in the bush and go and look for yowies and stuff. But I think a lot of people are scared. And when it comes to when the sun goes down and it gets dark, you got there's a lot of nocturnal animals in the bush, and there's more movement in the bush at night than in the daytime in the Blue Mountains or the Aussie bush because of all the nocturnal animals. And you've got to learn, and that's what took me years and years to learn, was all the noises to all the animals. So you get all different types of owls. You'll even get you got the possums and others. You got bats, micro bats, and then you've got all like bush mice that are native mice, and you got all different types of little mammals that you got the wombats going through. Wombats going through the bush sounds like a bulldozer. They're like, you don't want to hit it. You don't want to hit them with your car. They're like a solid speed hump. If you hit one in the car, you're going to kill the wombat, but you're going to wreck your car. They're solid as. They're solid as. So that's what I'm saying. It took a long time for me to learn all these noises. So I'd go out and I'd be in my tent and I'd be in the middle of the night and you're kind of awake and you're like, all right, that's an hour. And that's this and that's that. And even like platypus. Have you ever seen a platypus? Weird looking creature.
I've seen them on TV.
Yeah.
It's like a
duck, beaver.
A beaver and a duck. Yeah, a beaver with a duck. It's weird. But they even growl. They growl. And people have recorded said, Yowie's growled at me. And I go, well, you need water? Yeah. And I'm going, this is a platypus noise. And they go, oh, it was a platypus. And I didn't know it growled. So I made a video up about animal noises in the Australian bush, and it was all different types of animals and all different types of sounds that they made, and I put it in a video, and it's on my channel. So hopefully it helps people out when they're out in the bush, because a lot of noises that animals make, and especially when that noise goes through the bush, it gets distorted and changed. Yeah. So even cockatoos, the big black cockatoos, they make a stronger and a louder call than the normal sulfur-crested one, which is the white one with the yellow feathers on its head. And when that noise goes through the big trees, the wavelengths on the sound gets changed, and it starts to sound very different to what it sounded like when it come out of the bird's mouth. So things like that can change things dramatically to make people think, oh, that's a yowie, when it's just a bird flying in the air.
I think that's so great about you, because you want to share so much stuff, and I think that's one of the reasons why I gravitate towards you, because I just love that about you. You just want to teach people. You want to share. You want to experience. You just want to go out and do it. And so that's one of the reasons why I just love you so much. So,
well, no one's going to learn anything, and I just started from having a first encounter way back in the early 2000s, and to me, like I say to people before that, it was the Yowie was just a Dreamtime story, and a chocolate. That's all it was. It wasn't really a creature, because we'd only see. Remember the old show In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy? We'd see all them back in when they were made back in the late 70s or in the 70s and 80s, and it'd show you Bigfoot. And we're like, oh wow, Bigfoot's there. We wish we had something here. Well, we do have something here. Just that no one was. We didn't have YouTubes and we didn't have the internet, so people could see that.
Yeah.
And it was only if someone wanted to make a show about it. And most of the news channels would make fun of anyone that did it. So you didn't want to be mocked. So that's why no one come out. Where today everyone's more open to telling their story. But unfortunately, there's a lot of things happening in Facebook groups where people are like taking photos with mobile phones, which is not really good for the bush because there's so many different colors and so much light which distorts the pictures already.
You're right.
And then they zoom into a shadow and crop it and go, look, this is a Yowie. And you're like, no, it's not. It's a shadow. It's pareidolia.
Yeah.
And then there's big arguments happen. And no one's going to get anywhere if people keep on using something that's only got a small sensor like a phone. You look at a phone camera, which you guys call cell phones, I think. We just call them mobile phones. And it's a mobile. It's a phone first and the camera second. I know their cameras are getting better in them, but I've got a 4K camera, and I went through a lot of cameras back in the day to video and take photos, and I come across this Sony. I think it's an AX53, and they don't make them no more because people are using phones. They're not buying them. So I actually broke the one I had. I had to go buy another one off Facebook Marketplace, and I'm lucky I got one. And this one, you can zoom in 30 times. It doesn't pixelate when it gets to the full zoom. It's got a good battery life and it's got stability. So if I'm walking, it's not shaking like me going up and down. So, and that's what I'm telling people, get a decent camera. And people are like, oh, I can't afford one. I said, well, you got a phone and you're paid off. You can put money away each week, like $10 a week. And after, 5 or 6 months, have enough money to buy a really good second-hand one of someone that's trying to get rid of one to upgrade and get a better camera and what a phone can give you. So that's the main problem I'm seeing now in these days. People using stuff that's not made to go in the bush. The phones are made for like taking photos of your family about 2 meters away or taking a selfie.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah, I always tell people all the time that phones are great, but they're designed to focus on the very first thing that it's aim. So if you're taking a picture of like a bush, then the first branch is going to come out better focused than the rest of the branches behind it. So you're basically not going to get a good photo of anything. So.
No, and then because it's blurry, and I ask these people, I say, the question I asked is, well, what made you take that photo? Oh, I just took photos of the bush. I said, so you didn't see anything, you didn't hear anything, you didn't smell anything, you just taken a photo, heaps of photos. So what makes you think there's something there?
Yeah.
And when you ask valid questions like that, straight away they start getting angry. And they start telling you off. I'm like, hey, I just asked you questions.
Yeah.
I wasn't going off at you, and you couldn't answer the questions, and now you're getting angry at me. So what that tells me is nothing is there. And then I say to them, well, next to where it says photo on your phone, it says video. Why didn't you take a video? Instead, it would have showed me more evidence.
Yeah.
No one takes a video because I say there is nothing there.
Yeah.
That's why. And they're trying. People just want to get, they want something to talk about.
Sensationalism, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they just want to be part of the group, and I get that. But the more you go out, something's going to come across your path, and really, 1 out of every 10 times I go out, something interesting, and I'll say just something like one thing, and then I can't say 100% it's a Yowie, but I can say after being out and experience, all the noises of the night, to say, hey, I'm tending to it to be a Yowie, but I'm not going to say because I didn't see the animal myself. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Right. I wanted to ask you this, but what are your thoughts on hopefully I'm saying it right, the Dooligal?
Oh, well, Dooligal it's a Yowie. It's just that's from the actual Aboriginal tribe, and so they've named it the Dooligal. So like your American Indians have got the Sasquatch and the Omar, and different names they got for the Bigfoot. So you got the Dooligal, and then the small ones are the Junjidi, or the Junjidi over in Western Australia called Brown Jacks, and then up in the top of Australia they call them the Quinkins because they're supposed to be up to 12 foot tall. So it's basically there is a lot more names for them than the Aboriginal tribes, because I think there's for the Aboriginal language in Australia, there's probably well over 100 different types of language that the guys up in the top of Australia would talk differently to the guys down in, say, the bottom of Australia.
Right.
They probably know what they're talking about, but they got their slang words like
Different
Americans
dialects.
got slang words, different dialects, and you got your slang words and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the Dooligal was just one of the names from the tribes.
Okay. I've always been fascinated with, like I said, I've always been fascinated with Australian stuff. So, but I was telling you before, I think I told you on whenever you were on the first time, and but I reached out to Rex Gilroy, like in the late 90s, whenever I first got into Bigfoot. Did you ever come across him or meet him?
No, I never met Rex. He passed away, I think, a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rex had to be honest, some of them footprints that he had, I'm like, no, I think they're a bit too big. That animal would have to be massive, like a 20-foot animal to have a foot that big. And so I always questioned like some of the things he had. But in saying that, he was pretty much the first person to stick his neck out and talk about Yowies way back in the 70s and 80s, and probably copped a lot of flack for it. So he was pretty much of a the first person to come out and say all that and copped a lot of flack for the people coming after him like myself. But no, he did a lot of research. He's got a lot of interesting things. He had a lot of theories about different things. He was saying there was some sort of dinosaur still running around the bush, which pretty sure there's not. Pretty sure there's not. I can't say 100% it's not, but no one's ever seen it.
Right.
We have got dinosaurs get dug up in Australia that are only found here, nowhere else in the world. So he was what would you say? Like the first person to come out.
He would
really.
Yeah, he would be like John Green for North America. He was.
So to all the TV shows and all to the newspapers, all the media. So
right.
yeah, he was the first person to take it for overall. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to age me a little bit because whenever I first got into Bigfoot, there was like before Facebook, before Twitter or X or whatever like that, there was there was one called Fire something, and then there was Yahoo e-groups. So that's how I met Rex Gilroy, was through a Yahoo e-group. It was prior to that, and it was like he was posting. It was like a group page that you would join. And it was like a mass email. So if someone like responded to a thread, then everybody would get it. And so he would post stuff on there, and I reached out to him a couple times, and I think he emailed me back, and we were trading stories and stuff like that. But he was pleasant on the email, but email tone is like you can't really tell if someone was being sarcastic or not. So
I'll tell you one story about not about Rex, but one of his theories, and I'm like, it could be true. Where the water is for Sydney, it's in an area called Warragamba, which is in all the water that goes down where Katoomba is and Wentworth Falls. Most of it goes into Lake Burragarang, and then that goes all the way around to Warragamba. There's a big dam there, like the Hoover Dam, but not as big, and that's all the water for Sydney. And down that area, it's closed off. You can't go in there unless you state that you're going to walk through that area to the water board and say this, and you got to give all your names and all your information. You can't go to the toilet in there. They've got cameras everywhere, and you have to be through that area at a certain time or you'll get fined. So, and you might have to walk 30 Ks to go through that area, but that's just how it is, to try and save, people not, polluting the water. Anyway, no one goes down through there. And Rex, while we were filming Track, and we're walking up the Golden Staircase, which is actually closed at the moment because there's been a lot of landslides because it's the Blue Mountains is all sandstone. So when it rains a lot of it just gives way, and so the Golden Staircase, which has been up there since the late 1880s or something like that, it's actually they're repairing it so people can go down there. So we were up 3/4 of the way up on the Golden Staircase, and we're looking south in between Mount Solitary, which is directly south of the Three Sisters, and Narrow Neck, which is a narrow neck of land that goes out, so they called it Narrow Neck. And in between there, I'm looking south, and I'm seeing these two white things like just flying around in the air, but they were probably a good 10, 15 kilometers away. But you can see them go down in the bush and flying through. They're flickering as the light, is coming through each bit of the trees and the bush, and then they're going up in the air. And I'm like, and I said, Attila, what's that? Looks like UFOs. He goes, well, Rex Gilroy said there was a UFO base down there. And I'm like, man, I think he's telling the truth here, because we went up there about 3 times during 3 different occasions to walk out, and those lights were there flying around at about 2 a.m. in the morning each time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one down. There's there's just nothing there other than bush and mountain. And there's no one with a torch that could do that or flying a drones at that time. I just don't know. But he says there's a UFO base down there. And what I've seen, it could be true.
Is there any like military base around there at all?
There's nothing there but bush and mountains. And
Wow.
That is it. And for hundreds of kilometers, nothing. And I'm just like flabbergasted, like, nah. And we're watching them for like 20 minutes each time.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't planes. There's no way planes or anything could do that. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, there was no sound. Drones, no, it wouldn't be drones. People couldn't fly them through those trees in the bush like these things were flying,
Mm-hmm.
and at the speeds and doing those turns. I don't know. So anyway, that's what Rex said, and I've seen it 3 times. So anyone hiking up the Golden Staircase at 2 a.m., stop at the area where it says don't stop because rocks fall, because there's an area that's a bit dodgy. Stay there and have a look out, look south between Narrow Neck and Mount Solitary. You may just see a UFO.
Did Attila ever catch that on camera at all or anything like that?
No, we actually had everything packed away, and it was a big night, and he even said he didn't have anything that would pick them up from that far away in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have anything. Like he's got equipment that would, but he just didn't have it on him because no need to have it because we're filming up close or at night within 20 or 30 meters from us, with a night vision. So all the night vision's got its own capabilities, and what he had wouldn't have picked up, because that's what I'm saying, it's crystal clear up there. You can see for like 50 kilometers, and like we could see 10, 15 Ks, and you can see them flying around. So it spun me out. I'm like, well, I've got to see UFOs, and there's seen a lot of weird things while we're doing track. Like I said, I've seen things on black entities that didn't show up as a heat signature on a thermal.
Yeah,
we've seen the ghost. We've seen those UFOs, and we've seen the big like a ball of flames come out of the bush that lit the place up like it was daytime. Like, weird. I never thought I'd see them things in my life.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on the first time that we were on. So that's pretty interesting. So much energy out there. There's something bound to happen out there. So it's just
something already did.
Yeah.
Happen.
Steven, you have any questions?
I mean, Yowie Dan he's seen it all.
Yeah.
I was actually when I was looking up facts of the funnel web spider because he said that, and then I looked at it, I go, no. One of the many reasons I don't think I could visit Australia.
They just found another funnel web. It's actually what they call it. If you look it up, it's actually a massive one. So you look at the funnel web, it grows to a certain size. These ones are actually bigger and more venomous. So
yeah,
it's like, I don't know. They call it, I don't know, the giant. I don't know. But it was massive, and then I've come across the funnel webs a few times. Look, if you don't disturb them, they're not coming out to chase you. Their funnel webs. It's a hole, and you see the top of it's got all web on it, but I won't. these are the reasons why I go at winter time. All I got to do is put up with the leeches, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the leeches don't bother me, but sometimes, like the Federal Pass, which runs under the Three Sisters, it's just got plagues of leeches, and I'm on Blue Mountains hiking groups, and there's people just showing you the bite marks and all the blood coming out of their feet and legs from the leeches. Yeah, but in summertime, you got the brown snakes, which they bit me in some areas where I was, that's it. My life's over. I'm not getting out. 20 minutes, half an hour, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And then you got tiger snakes, you got red bellies, and then you got the Blue Mountains funnel web, because you got the Sydney funnel web, the Blue Mountains funnel web, and then you got this big ass one they just found now. So, yeah. So there, and then when it comes to spring, all the funnel webs are all out, male ones, to try and find the female one. So springtime, I'm not going through the bush like I do. So that's why I do it in winter time, because it's more safer for me. The only thing I've got to look out is for leeches and yowies that, are angry, and that's about all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was reading it, and then the female funnel webs are not as toxic, but the male ones are, because they're just generally pissed.
Because they're horny or something?
Yeah. And they're all like, I was reading it, it goes, how can you tell between a bite from a male and a female? Well, if you have the males, they'll attack your nervous system, and you have a hard time breathing.
Wow.
And I'm like, no. Nope.
Nope.
Well, the male's got like a long abdomen at the back, and the female's more round, like a coin. So yeah, and the female's a lot bigger than the male. So, and then I think the female eats the male after.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like a lot of spiders do. A lot of spiders are like that.
Yeah.
So they have sex and have a feed afterwards.
I guess.
I think I didn't ask you this the first time, but what are your thoughts on the thylacine?
Oh, yeah, I'm really hoping it's still out there. I don't know if this is true. This is what I got told. This is probably a good 15 years ago. I had a friend that moved down to Tasmania, where the thylacines are supposed to be. Anyway, I just said to him, hey, see any thylacines? And he goes, you know what? I went to this friend's party. He goes, you had to drive along this trail in the car for like 10 kilometers to get to their house. It's just solid wood and all full of just solid bush. And he goes, when I got there, I kind of, had a few beers, and I just said to the guy, like, oh, do you see any thylacines? He goes, yeah, there's families of thylacines come walking through here all the time. And he goes, why don't you, take a photo and tell them? He goes, no, I don't want anyone to come around and hurt them. There's not many of them left. I don't know if that's as true, but anyway, that's what the guy said. He could have said it to, I don't know. But anyway, I'm hoping they're out there, and there's people that are going out there and they're finding footprints, because the footprints of the Tasmanian devil are pretty much the same as the tiger, but it's a little bit different. You got the fifth toe on a Tasmanian tiger. That's how they can tell. And there's been some prints found like there, but no one's actually got it, on any footage of it as yet. And there's been a lot of fakes out there, or they missed. They say like there's dogs that have got some sort of skin problem, and they lost their hair and their tail has gone stiff, and they say, oh, that's a thylacine because the tail was up in the air. And no, it's not. It's just a dog, or a mangy fox. So, but yeah, no, I'm hoping it's out there, because that's one of my favorite animals, and it's a pity that look, they got shot and put pretty much to extinct, because they were saying that they were chasing down all the sheep that what they had down there, but they were animals that weren't that quick, and they were more their mouth would open up about 180 degrees so they could grab. So they would grab something and not let go and just wait till it pretty much bled to death, where the wild dogs were killing all the sheep. So they were it was the dogs doing it, not the thylacines. And by the time they got to the time around the 1930s to say, hey, it's not them, it's the dogs that they said they're protected. Well, they're all gone.
Yeah, so, that's sad, because they are a really, really beautiful creature.
Yeah, and they walk differently to dogs. They're not related to
Is it a fox?
Any kind of, no foxes or nothing. They're a what's the just off the top of my head, I can't because they have the I'm sure they got a pouch as well.
Marsupial.
Yeah, I'm sure they that's what they call it, a marsupial.
Yeah.
The marsupial, yeah. So it's a marsupial. That's it. I'm not even. See, you got it. I forgot it. And so it's pretty much on its own. Related to a quoll. There's a quoll, which is like a little kind of. It's like a ready kind of creature, and it's got like white spots on it, and they're like a little cat kind of creature, and they're pretty crazy mad, and they kill all little animals and that, and it's related to one of them. So they're trying to get the egg of one of them and put the DNA of the tiger in it, so then it would work for them to be able to implant it into another animal for it to get born. So that's what they're trying to do now. And we hear about it every couple of, probably every 6 months or something. Oh yeah, this is getting done, but then that's about all we hear. So you never know. We hear that, or someone's trying to bring back a woolly mammoth. That's what we hear all the time.
Yeah, I've heard of that a lot. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure. So it's scary, but it's exciting at the exact same time. So I don't know. But yeah, because I think after we interviewed you the first time, I said, man, I didn't ask him about the Tasmanian tiger or devil. I said, I go, dang it, because I think we were talking about like rugby and Australian rules football, and we were talking about a lot of stuff. So
except that,
yeah.
Well, the devils have actually gone down in numbers because they've got a disease going through them. And they're trying to wipe that out, and then all like koalas, they all got gonorrhea. So it's really funny what animals and what diseases they get.
Yeah,
and there's about 25,000 Tasmanian devils left, and that disease he's talking about is transmissible cancer called devil facial tumor disease.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Is the states are trying to do something like to prevent that? Yeah.
Yeah. They got ones up here in New South Wales and all different what do you call them, the zoos, and they're ones that they're trying to breed them up as well. But they're trying to do something, but it's got to do like the ozone layer here. Australia's like right where the hole is, so we're getting hit. Cancer rates for even humans are worse here than anywhere in the world. So it's got to affect the animals. Like we had a white cat, and it got a cancer on its nose and its ears, where we had to chop its ears off and get its nose
it's horrible.
chopped off, and that was a white cat. So in Australia, any animal that's albino or white is going to suffer bad.
Yeah,
so they're black, and they're getting it on their face, because look, they come from Tasmania, which is a lot cooler than the rest of Australia, but it does get hot down there in the summertime, and it shows you how cold it does get there. The tiger snake up in the mainland Australia has got stripes on it, and it's kind of a silvery browny color. You got the tiger snake in Tasmania, it's black, so it can get as much sun and get as hot as much as it can. It's changed the way it looks to deal with the weather conditions down there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you also about the documentary that you did with Attila, or Attila did a documentary about the big fire that happened down there a couple of years ago.
Oh, that was Tracking the Law. Yeah.
So when that happened, did y'all happen to run across any stories of like Bigfoot bodies, or not Bigfoot bodies, but Yowie bodies, or any kind of movement, or any kind of like movement that moved them like away from the fire, and then they got maybe reported in an area that normally they wouldn't get sightings?
There was reportings. Yeah, there's always reportings of Yowies around. I know for sure in the Blue Mountains, like at areas where I'd have things happen, there was nothing, because the north side of the Great Western Highway runs through from the eastern side of the Blue Mountains to the west. And that's basically where Black's Land Wentworth and Lawson in 1813 crossed over to get over the Blue Mountains the first time. So they made a road pretty much 75% of the way. So the north side of that is where the Grace Valley is, and the south side is where Katoomba is, and the Three Sisters and Jamison Valley, where most of the tourists go. But the north side, I've been in there, and they closed it off because it was where it was getting burnt. It was that bad where it looked like a waterfall of fire because it was like trees and that falling down. It just looked like a waterfall of fire going over the ledge of one of the ridges there, and so people were not really going out because at that time, most of the east coast up Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria was all on fire. So reports weren't as much as they were previously because during that time we had the fires, and then we had floods, and then we had COVID. So people couldn't go out because of the COVID. And some places like Melbourne, it was the most strictest in the world where it was just gone crazy. And I could not go to the Blue Mountains from where I live because I'm not far from the Blue Mountains, but I could not go in there to do a hike. You had to be living up there. And that's how bad it got. So you could not go out. And it was only a span of about 2 or 3 months from the end of the fires till the COVID and the floods in between, where places like Lismore were getting flooded where 10 to 15 meters deep the water was. It just flooded the whole town.
Wow.
And so people just didn't have a chance during that time to go out because we had 3 major things happen, which we were locked down for probably a good 10 months. And no one, unless you lived in those areas, could go out there. And so it wasn't really a time of getting many reports. Some were trickling into AYR or people were messaging because they lived in the bush and they had something happen. But other than that, there was really nothing.
Because there were stories like in, let me see, back whenever Mount St. Helen like erupted, like in the 80s.
Oh yeah, I seen that. I just watched that recently. That just was crazy.
Yeah, there was like stories of Bigfoot bodies. There were like, it was like burned up, and then there was stories of like black helicopters and coming in and picking them up and taking them away. So there was. And, and whenever you would try to hear, like, who talked about the story, the people would disappear and all kinds of stuff. So I found it interesting. I just thought maybe that over in the bush, whenever they had those horrible fires, that maybe a story or two came out of, a Bigfoot being burned and they're finding a body or something.
I only saw people talking on groups or, saying, oh, wonder where they're gone. Wonder hope they don't get hurt and stuff like that. There was so many helicopters and planes and going around everywhere that you just didn't know what was what, because it was that we get these big orange helicopters that we pay Canada in their like winter time for our summer. They come over here and we use them over here, and then as soon as it's out their summer, they go back. And we had aeroplanes come over from overseas to help do the dive bombing. And you didn't know, what was like a police helicopter to just one that's trying to put the fires out. So, and there was just smoke everywhere. Look, I'm not near the bush. I'm just in a suburb, but there was just at times when you get up and it was like just smoke, and you thought it was fog until you smelled it, and it would just linger around, and you could see it from space. And then some of the smoke ended up going to, like, I think South America. That's how far it traveled.
Wow.
And how thick it was. It went over the ocean and started smoking out other countries that are nowhere near us.
Yeah,
that's how bad it was.
It's amazing.
It burnt, like, they reckon it burnt millions and millions of animals that got killed in that fire. In the bush. The bush was crazy. The bush that got burnt was bigger than some countries in Europe.
Yeah.
So it was massive.
That's heartbreaking to hear that. But
yeah. I'll tell you before if we do go, Attila Caldy and myself, we've got another Yowie video that we're going to be making.
Yes.
Yes. So I thought I asked him the other day for permission to talk about it. He's like, yeah, you can. But pretty much all I can say is we've got something that we're going to start filming in this month.
Okay.
Starting. Because I said to Attila, it's got to be winter time or cool. I'm not going out in the summer. Too dangerous. And so we're going to start filming in a couple of weeks. And during the Easter break, and it's just I think he's going to make a trailer, and then once it's out, I'll send it to everyone, and so it's basically a Yowie video, and that's about all I can say about it.
Okay. Whenever you do this, we want you back on. So we can push it, because like we love Yowie Dan, we love Attila Caldi. I think last time I had him on, I was like really nervous. I don't know why.
We both were, because you were all like, I'm super nervous, and I was like, it shouldn't be that bad. And then I was watching his documentaries, go, oh, this guy's legit.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah,
because like Yowie Dan, he's like our brother. And Attila Caldi, he was on TV, and I know Yowie Dan, you were on TV too, but I don't know, I feel closer to you. I shouldn't say that. Attila's gonna get mad.
No, Attila's pretty cool, mate. Like me and him get on so well, because like we think along the same lines, and it's when you go out with people to do research, and he's not a researcher. He says, I'm not a researcher, I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Which he's an independent filmmaker, and he's self-taught, and he actually teaches lessons to people when he gets the chance. And he's constantly making different, he's always got something on, and he actually filmed them with Cade Moyer from the Belief podcast and UFO documentary film they made. And yeah, that was pretty good. I watched that one. And Dark Truth, I think it's called. So he's always doing something that's got to do with paranormal. There was ghosts and the UFOs. That's his interest, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just a normal, down-to-earth person, really good to talk to, intelligent guy, knows a lot about any subject you talk about. He pretty much is, knows about it, and he's when you listen to him speak, he speaks a lot better than what I do about subjects and stuff. And he's a great guy, and he's just out there like I am, trying to find the truth about these creatures. And I think I think the reason why people like his videos so much, because they're very different to other like Bigfoot or Yowie videos or documentaries that have been made. And they're very enjoyable to watch. They're interesting. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I think what caught me about him is that we were talking about his paranormal videos, and I asked him this question. I said, "Aren't you afraid that you might get something attached to you while you're doing this?" And he goes, "Robert, I'm just a film guy. I'm not a researcher, so I'm just filming. That's all I do." And I go, oh, okay. so
you think he's gonna that's like the paranormal when they see that, they're like, oh, he's just a filmmaker.
He's just a film guy. So
I can't attach myself to it.
Yeah. So he says he focuses on the filming. That's all he does. And I go, that's awesome. That's an awesome answer. So and like Cade, I've tried to get him on the show, but that guy's way busy. Moyer, I've tried to get him onto our show, and he's just a busy dude. And
yeah, he owns his own business, and then he does the podcast on the side.
Yeah.
So he's just way busy. Like I can hardly get anything out of him when I ask him something. It'll take a couple of weeks before he answers me back. So he's so busy. Plus he's got a family as well. So yeah, he's nonstop.
So like whenever I first met Sarah, she introduced me to you. Attila, Buck Buckingham, Gary Lynn, Kershaw. And then she told me, goes, hey, you got to talk to Cade. I said, okay. And then I reached out to him, and he's like, I think he responded like once or twice, and he was just way too busy. I said, I didn't take it personal. More power to him. He's got to get his product out, and he wants to do it. But hey, if you're listening, Cade, you're more than welcome to come on. So,
hey, talking back about when you're saying you're scared of getting something attached to you when you go out.
Yeah,
I've had that. Like I never told anyone this. This is the first time, and something happened to me when we were out in a place called Penrose State Forest, and it's something attached to me.
So you had an experience at your house?
No. We were down at a place called Penrose State Forest. It's probably a good hour and a half drive on the freeway from where we live. And we were doing some research for Yowies, and happened to be that night I filmed that UFO on my thermal, and it was, I don't know, some crazy hour, and then we were driving out, and we end up getting back to the highway, and we wanted to stop because Attila wanted to film a little bit for his YouTube channel, and then they said, let's go to the McDonald's. It's open all hours. So we ended up driving south more, about another 20 minutes to this McDonald's at Sutton's Forest, it's called. And have you ever heard of Ivan Milat, the backpacker murderer?
No,
Well,
I don't think so.
The Langolo Forest is on the other side of the road, not far from where these places are. And we've been there. It's really spooky there too. Don't you worry about that. But anyway, we're in the car park having Maccas at like 2:30 in the morning or something. And then after we finished that, I got everything and I said, "Hey, give me all your rubbish. I'll chuck it in the bin." I jumped back in the car. We're driving over. We get to the other side of the road. All I remember is, when you drive a car, even when you're a passenger, always look for cars coming on when you're joining to a road. And I just happened to look to the right, just out of habit, and I'm on the passenger side because we drive on the left-hand side of the road where you're on the right. And then I'm like, why am I looking? I'm not even driving. That's the last thing I remember until getting back to Attila's place at an hour or so later. And then Attila's like shaking me, "Dan, wake up!" And I'm like I'm drunk. I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like shaking me, and I'm all I remember is like sitting in the car and the interior lights on, and I'm like, and it seemed like really dark. I'm like, what's going on? And then he just goes, "Dan, wake up," and shakes the crap out of me. And I'm like, I kind of come to, and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he's like, "Are you all right, man? I think it sounded like your head got slammed up against the window when we were driving." And I'm like, "I don't remember anything while we were driving." He's like, "Did you fall asleep?" I said, "No, I don't remember falling asleep." And then we got to the bin to put some more rubbish I had in the back of the car from the McDonald's that I didn't get. And I just felt like I was going to collapse and faint. And then the teller grabbed me, and he had his arms coming underneath around under my armpits from behind me. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of looked around and he just went, "Oh no." And then I'm like 100 kilos. So he's dragging me along his front yard, gets to the house. And I just remember kind of like waking up looking, and I'm all like groggy, and Tilla's wife goes, "I told you shouldn't have gone there." And then he took me inside, and I started talking about I was some girl, and I got shot dead or something there, and I got dragged in the bush there, and I got buried there or something like that. But when they said I was talking like I had bronchitis, because like when she said she got shot in the chest, and they said as soon as you kind of come out of it, you were just normal again. And I was that drained that I said, "Tiller, can you get me some water?" And he gave me a glass of water. I drank it. I said, "Can you get me a jug of water, like 2 liters?" Yeah. And I just kept drinking. My mouth was that dry, and I'm like, "What's going on? How did they get to your house?" What? I stood. Yeah. I've never told anyone. It's the first time I told anyone this, and like I'll never go back to Penrose State Forest again. I'll go anywhere. I've gone to Belangolo and had something breathe over my shoulder in the pitch black while I'm filming the boys with the thermal. Unfortunately, near one of the people that got murdered, they found them in the area there, and there's a big German flag with Rip Simone on it. One of the girls was named Simone, and while the boys were walking down this trail near there, I'm filming in the pitch black, and Belangolo is a really dark area. You put your hand about 2 foot or a foot in front of your face, you can't see it. That's how black it is there. And something went and breathed over my shoulder, and I'm like, "Oh my God, there's a murderer behind me." That's the first thing I turned around thinking, what am I going to see? I couldn't see anything. There's no one there. But yeah, Penrose State Forest, I'll never go there again.
So the drive from the McDonald's to Attila's was like an hour, you said?
About an hour and a half, depends. It's 110 kilometer speed limit. And they reckon when I got onto the freeway not long after that, my head just went bang against the window of the door, and they were like, "You all right, Dan?" And I kind of went, and that was it. I don't remember that.
So he probably assumed that you were just going to fall asleep, probably, right, while he was driving?
They probably thought I fell. I said, didn't you like stop and check me? They go, no, we thought you just fell asleep and banged your head against there, but it was pretty loud though. And I'm like, no, man, I didn't fall asleep. I go, I wasn't sleepy. I wasn't tired. I'm like, we had a coffee and all that while we were out. Like coffee makes me really like, I can't sleep for like a long time. I don't have coffee anytime after 2:00 in the afternoon. I was awake all night. So I know that I did not go to sleep. Like something took control of me.
Yeah, something possessed you.
Yeah, when they say that happened, I said, done. And now I know what they're talking about because it happened to me. And I was so drained for the next 2 days. And I was just like, my mouth was so dry. I just had to keep on drinking water all the time. It was crazy.
I've heard stories like this before of people being channeled, or they get I wouldn't say possessed because that's a demon.
A vessel.
A vessel or channeled. I've heard stories of this, and so had you not saying you're going to go back, but had you researched that all the people that were murdered there?
Oh, in that side, which is Penrose, there was no one found there. But if you just go down, I think it's a bit further. You go through the natural bush to the pine forest at Belangolo and go to the natural bush. That's where they were all buried within probably a kilometre. And it didn't happen there. It happened at Penrose, but there've been funny things going on in that bush as well. People have been talking about, but we'd been there twice, and the first time we went there was a week earlier, and we left probably an hour after it went dark. But there was a lot of animals, kangaroos, foxes. There was just all the animals that come out at night. When we went there with that time when something kind of latched onto me, we saw like one fox, and there was nothing else there. It was quiet as other than little micro bats flying around, and that's why I got the UFO on footage, because I was trying to film the microbats and this thing just appears in the sky.
Yeah. Well, and, I was kind of thinking that, okay, so why would this spirit attach to you there? And I was kind of thinking while you were talking, it is possible that if this serial killer guy was transporting these people or this person, and they happened to perish right in the area where you guys were merging, or right in that area, and she's stuck there. And so if she was stuck there, then you were probably the most person that had the energy that she could attach to.
Probably, but before that, when Attila and Duo went into the bush, Duo said to Attila, I'm just picking up feelings about a young girl, aged about 20 years old or something like that. And that's what happened. That's what I got. And I didn't know that till later on. Attila told me a week or so after that. And there was something where there was other weird things that happened there that I can't talk about. That's happened to the others.
Yeah.
But there was some weird things that led up to that. But the weird thing I find, there's nothing wrong with me, nothing until we got to Sutton's Forest, which was probably another half an hour after we left, or 40 minutes. Then when we started driving onto the road to go back north again to go home, that's when it hit me. Like it wasn't there in the forest; it was later on. Like I don't know. I'm not really the ghosty person. Like people say to me, like, "Oh, why don't you get into this and why don't you get into that?" I said, "No, I'm not spreading everything around. I'm just doing yowies and that's it."
Yeah.
But other things just tend to cross my path because we've put ourselves in that area, and these things happen.
So I kind of gravitate toward you because I feel that you're such a good person, and you mean to do a lot of good, like in this community and then the community of Yowies. So I think the energy that you put out, and I'm just spitballing here, Steven, you can step in whenever you want, but I just feel that you have such good energy that whatever's in these areas, you're like a Roman candle that goes off. You're like a big firecracker that goes off.
I think what it is too, which I've spoken to people that are into that, where like I'm open to like all this stuff. All right, I believe there's like ghosts out there. I believe there's aliens out there. I've seen UFOs and everything. I believe all these things. But I think it's because your mind's more open to all that. That's when they I think they can feel it or something in you. That's why they attach you to you. They feel probably more at home. Where you're looking at this is some sort of entity they've been murdered. They want to find someone that they can trust.
Yeah.
You know, that's I'm just trying to bring something up that's how I feel about it. And like I've never told this. You were the first guys that know about this, other than my wife, my sister, Attila, and Duo. That's it.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing.
Because I'm not like the ghosty thing, and people go, "Oh, now he's into ghosts, and now he's into this." Well, yeah, I've always been into all these creatures. I used to watch In Search of, I'm into like people finding Amelia Earhart's plane and everything like that. You know.
Yeah.
But, this thing here was I just thought it's just time to tell this story because when we go out into the bush, you can feel it. Some areas you just go, it's just got that like what's his name from Bobo. We just say this feels squatchy. Like that's what we say when we're out there, and you get that feeling. You feel the hair stand up on your arms and your neck and that. Where the previous 5 kilometers is nothing, but you get to an area and then things start to happen. And you're like, we're right. And then that's why you hang around those areas and keep going back or setting up sound recorders or trail cameras or something just to try and get some sort of evidence. So,
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Hey, thanks for sharing that story. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that's truthful story that happened, and I'm not bullshitting about that. That's what happened to me, and when people say they got possessed and this happened, I'm kind of tending to believe it because it happened to me. And by doing track the search for stray Bigfoot, so much things happened to me that I would never think would happen ever in my life,
right?
Or I could 100% believe. And now, you know, even that, what that happened to me, the biggest thing that spun me out was that big bloody fiery orb thing that came out in the bush. That is something that that spun me out the most. Where, you know, a yowie walk in front of me, oh yeah, it's a yowie because I've kind of seen one or two before, and you know, I've filmed them, and you know, I've heard them, I've recorded them, but something that comes out that you don't expect, or something that's happened to you, that's what really kind of makes you think, like, what else is out there?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this question also. So, do you think, and I know this is just like a hypothetical, but do you think yowies are attracted to that kind of energy?
I'm not sure. I think that they could be attracted to some. I know that they've been told that, you know, where you get the big power lines, the real big metal girders and that, and you know, the big, you know, the ones that they're really, you can hear them like make that buzzing noise, and they've been said even in the North America and here that they walk along them.
Yep.
So every time I
was just about to say that. So.
So they could get attracted to some sort of, you know, static electricity or something that's electric, something that gives them like, what's that? That's unusual. So they go, I think they're just curious creatures that just go out there and they want to know what it is. But I'm just thinking that most times that people come across a yowie is just that person just happens to be in the right spot at the right time.
Right.
You know, like we go out researching them, and we like I said, 1 time out of 10 times we'll come across something interesting, or say this is a spot that we've got to come back to again, because the rest of them, they're just not there. You got to remember, you go in the Blue Mountains, and a lot of the time the ridges, everything's just dry. It looks green, but the ground is just dead leaves and sticks. And it's only when you get down near the creeks is where it starts getting really green on the ground. So it's not like there's something going to be walking and living in every part of that bush. You know, it's got these areas that, even for humans, you look at the east coast of Australia, that's where all the people are. And you over the other side of the mountains, there's people there, but it's more as you get closer to the inner of Australia, it's just desert and brown. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
So even in the mountains, there's places like that where you might go from A to B and walk over that mountain there, but you're going to live on the other side, not on top of the mountain. So that's why we we'll find an area where we're going to research that's high up, and we'll look down into those areas to see if we can see them from, from a far, up on the top of the mountain. So they can't smell us, they can't hear us, and they'll do their normal thing, and hopefully we can capture them camera.
Right. Yowie, I want to thank you for coming on. We're at an hour and 18 minutes. So thank you for coming on. I'm going to whenever I do release this, I'm gonna put your YouTube channels on there.
Yeah, cool. Thanks very much.
So we can trade it. Do you have any shout outs to anybody, or you want to promote anything that I mean, I know you promoted this thing with Attila Caldi, but is there anything else? Do you want anybody to reach out to you? Or?
If anyone wants to have a chat to me, my email is australianyowie@gmail.com, or I'm on Facebook, and you can just message me under Yowie Dan. I don't accept like friends. I keep that part separate, but they can message me on there and stuff like that. And if they're from overseas and they're coming to Australia and want a bit of a day out Yowie research, and I'm happy to take someone out and show them areas and all like that. But if you want to watch 2 documentaries that are made by a great filmmaker and Attila, just get on Tubi TV and look up Tracking the Law and Track Search for Australia's Bigfoot. And they go for about 55 to 58 minutes, and you'll love them. So they're very well made.
I have to agree because I've seen both. So, I feel really special because I'm on Yowie Dan's friends list. So, Yowie, because we're always trading like messages like almost daily, right? We're always because I feel so close to you, even though you're like a world away. But I feel so close to you. But thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. We'd love to have you back on once you and Attila finish this other documentary. We'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, I'll have a lot more stuff to hopefully for you guys to hear or see, because I lost last year, pretty much the whole year. I'm going to make an effort to try and get something out every month or twice a month, to have sound recorders and trail cameras out to see what I can get.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Steven, you have any shout outs?
Shout out to Blair and the kids.
Shout out to my family, my mom's. I want to say shout out to Kelly Zurich with Special K on our Best Behavior podcast. So she did a shout out to us this week. So
shout out to Allie Hardman too. She's been listening to the show and she's been loving it.
Thanks, Allie.
So we really appreciate you. And
good night and goodbye. Bang.
If you are listening to us for the first time, thank you. If you are a regular listener, double thank you. Please subscribe, comment, like, follow, and give us a 5-star review. It really helps us provide quality content for you. If you have any stories you would like to share or concerns, please email us at bigfootclub1@gmail.com.